It starts as a joke on TikTok. I don't break up with people. I just date them until I can't stand them anymore. This is the trend we are talking about today. Date them till you hate them. In this video, we are going to break down how we got here, the culture of avoidance, the convenience of staying, the performance of love on social media, and the hidden cost of dragging things out until all that's left is bitterness. So how did we get here? Date them till you hate them isn't just a catchy line. It's a reflection of how relationships have become disposable. Instead of breaking up cleanly, people stay until the resentment is unbearable, dragging the connection down with them. On TikTok, you see it in jokes. I don't break up with guys, I just date them until I can't stand the sight of them. Laughter fills the comments, but behind the humor is a quiet truth. People are afraid of hard conversations. They don't want to be the villain, so they linger until dislike does the work for them. And this lingering has become a cultural pattern. Couples go from being in love to being roommates, from sharing dreams to barely sharing dinner. Not because the love was never there, but because nobody wanted to say, this isn't working anymore. It's not a breakup, it's a slow death. Think about it. How many times have you heard someone say, I knew it was over months ago, but I didn't know how to leave? Or, we were just waiting for one of us to hate the other enough to finally walk away. That's the date them till you hate them script. It's avoidance disguised as commitment. And here's the emotional cost. When you stay too long in something you know is ending, love doesn't just fade, it curdles. What was once tenderness turns into irritation. What was once attraction turns into disgust. And when you finally leave, you don't walk away with closure, you walk away with bitterness. This isn't just ending relationships, it's poisoning them. It's teaching people to confuse endurance with love and silence with maturity. But all it really does is leave both people emptier than if they had just been honest. But why is this happening? Why are so many people choosing to drag things out instead of letting them go? The answer lies in the culture of avoidance we've built, where ending things feels scarier than staying miserable. And that's exactly where we are heading next. We live in a culture that avoids confrontations at all costs. Instead of saying, this isn't working, people stay silent. Instead of breaking up, they let the relationship rot from the inside out. Ending feels scarier than staying miserable. Look at how people talk about breakups online. On TikTok, you see confessionals like, I stayed with him for 8 months after I stopped loving him because I didn't know how to say it. Or, she wasn't happy, but she kept dragging it out until we both hated each other. The truth is, most people don't leave when love ends. They leave when resentment explodes. And the reason is fear. Fear of being the bad guy. Fear of hurting someone. Fear of sitting across from someone you once loved and saying the words, I don't want this anymore. So instead they stop. They smile through dinners they don't enjoy. They scroll through their phones instead of having conversations. They perform the relationship long after the relationship has ended. And the silence feels safer than honesty until it turns into contempt. And this avoidance is bigger than dating. It's cultural. We are raising a generation that goes their friends instead of apologizing. That quits jobs by email instead of having hard talks. That lets relationships collapse instead of saying out loud, I've changed. I don't want this anymore. But avoidance doesn't protect anyone. It doesn't keep things kind or soft. It just drags out the hurt until it mutates into something uglier. Staying becomes the cruelty, and by the time the breakup finally happens, there is no tenderness left, just bitterness, anger, and a sense of betrayal. But here's the twist. This avoidance doesn't just come from fear. It also comes from the culture of convenience we live in, where people treat relationships like subscriptions, easy to start, harder to cancel, and that's the next layer we need to unpack. Modern dating has turned relationships into subscriptions, easy to start, harder to cancel. Instead of making clean exits, people let things auto-renew, staying together out of convenience long after the love is gone. Think about how we treat Netflix or Spotify. We sign up in a moment of excitement, binge for a while, then slowly lose interest. But instead of canceling, we let the charge hit our card month after month because canceling feels like effort. That's how a lot of relationships look now. At first, there is energy, passion, excitement. But when that fades, instead of saying, this isn't working anymore, People let the relationship auto-renew. They keep texting out of habit. They keep showing up at family dinners because it's expected. They stay together because it's easier than facing the discomfort of living. On Twitter, you see posts like, "We weren't in love anymore, but breaking up felt like canceling a subscription. Too much work, so we just stayed." On podcasts, people admit, "I wasn't happy, but she was part of my routine. It felt easier to keep her around." It's not about desire anymore, it's about convenience. And convenience is killing authenticity. The cost of this convenience is staggering because when you stay out of habit, you are not choosing love, you are avoiding disruption. You are choosing comfort over connection, routine over honesty, and slowly both people wither inside something that looks like a relationship but feels like a trap. It creates a culture where relationships aren't defined by choice but by inertia, where staying is the default, not because it's right, but because canceling feels like too much work. And when love becomes a subscription, intimacy becomes autopilot. But convenience isn't the only reason people stay. There is another force at play, one tied to social media, performance love, and the pressure to look happy even when we are falling apart. And that's the next layer we need to uncover. In the age of Instagram and TikTok, relationships aren't just private, they are public performances. And for many couples, the pressure to look happy online outweighs the reality of being miserable offline. Scroll through Instagram on Valentine's Day. You see the highlight reels, the roses, the dinner, the days, the matching pajamas. But what you won't see is the fight they had in the car before posting the photo, or the silence that follows when the cameras are off. This is the performance of love, where the relationship is kept alive not because it's thriving, but because it's content. On TikTok, you'd find couples making funny skits, doing trends, posting couple goals, and the comments pour in. "You guys are perfect. This is what I want someday." But behind the filters, many of those couples are crumbling. They are not in love, they are in character. And it's not just influencers. Everyday couples feel it too. They post anniversary tributes, vacation selfies, engagement shoots, all while privately struggling. Why? Because breaking up would mean admitting the performance was fake. And in a culture obsessed with optics, people fear the shame of failure more than the pain of staying. This is the hidden weight of social media. It traps people inside relationships that died long ago. Because once you've built an image together, it's not just a breakup anymore. It's a public unraveling. So couples stay. They keep smiling in pictures, keep writing captions about my forever, even as resentment grows. They choose the performance over the truth because the performance earns likes while the truth invites questions. But the cost is intimacy. When you are busy curating an image of love, you stop living the reality of it. And slowly the performance replaces the relationship until both people are stuck playing roles in a story they no longer believe in. But here is the final layer, and maybe the most painful. This trend isn't just about avoidance, convenience, or performance. It's about how dragging out dead relationships slowly rewires how we see love itself. And that's the hidden danger of date them till you hate them. The most dangerous part of date them till you hate them isn't just the breakups that come too late. It's the way it quietly erodes tenderness, teaching us that love is supposed to end in bitterness, not care. Here's what happens when people stay too long. The little things that once felt sweet turn sour. The good morning text become annoying. The quirks that once made you laugh now grind your nerves. Even the sight of the person you once loved starts to feel heavy. And when the relationship finally ends, you don't remember the good. You remember the drag, the resentment, the exhaustion. Instead of walking away with respect, you walk away with disgust. On TikTok, you hear people say, "I don't even know if I ever loved him because by the end I couldn't stand them." On podcasts, you hear confessions like, "We should have ended it months earlier. I think we ruined whatever care we had left." This is the death of tenderness. It's not just that the love ends, it's that the way it ends poisons the memory of ever having loved at all. And this is where the cultural damage cuts deepest. Because when enough people experience love that way, dragged out until it turns rotten, they start to believe that's just what love does. That love is supposed to suffocate. That every relationship will eventually decay into hate. But that's not love. That's avoidance, convenience, and performance killing love slowly. And when we normalize that script, we rob ourselves of the belief that love can end gently, that care can survive even when romance doesn't. The death of tenderness is the final cost of this trend. It doesn't just end relationships, it ends our faith in love itself. And that's why date them till you hate them isn't just a meme. It's a quiet cultural epidemic reshaping how we love, how we live, and what we believe about relationships themselves. So here is where we have landed. Date them till you hate them might sound funny online, but in reality, it's tragic. It's turning relationships into subscriptions that auto-renew out of convenience. It's forcing people to perform love on social media while quietly falling apart offline. And it's killing tenderness, leaving people with bitterness where care used to be. The cost isn't just the end of relationships, it's the erosion of how we understand love itself. When we normalize staying too long, we normalize love as something that rots, not something that can end with respect. And once that belief takes hold, every future relationship starts to feel doomed before it even begins. But here's the truth. Love doesn't have to end in hate. Relationships don't have to be dragged out until they collapse. The problem isn't love, it's the fear of letting go. So the question is, have you ever stayed too long? Have you ever dated someone until you hated them just to avoid the pain of leaving? Drop your story in the comments because this isn't just a trend, it's a cultural mirror. And the only way to change it is to start telling the truth. This has been date them till you hate them. The trend quietly ending relationships, and maybe the first step to protecting love is learning how to let go before it dies.